Real quick, we were just talking about Dortmund. Gio Reyna, another game comes and goes where we, don't really feel his impact.
Look, but I think
where are we at with this?
Well, I think
he didn't go to the Gold Cup so that he could play 12 minutes of 360 here.
I think some of it is a club. We've all been in situations where maybe somebody. I don't think Niko Kovac is looking that Gio is going to be in that squad for next season.
At this tournament?
You do what your club tells you to do.
Wouldn't you be better served?
You don't get to demand that. If the club says you're with the club, you're with the club.
Isn't that why you have agents to kind of negotiate these things? If you're on your way out,
you can try.
Wouldn't the club be better served to have him playing for the national team, showcasing
that
himself?
I think is more of a situation. If he wasn't going to play for you, would he be playing someplace else? But FIFA made it very clear.
Right.
The clubs had priority in this.
Club World
and
Cup.
if Dortmund said you're coming, you're coming. There's no way around that. Now, if I was Dortmund and I said, look, I think Gio isn't going to feature, would it be better for him to showcase? Or do you say, do we want to be in control because we don't want a player injured and then we can't sell him and then this is all moot? So, I would have, again, I want to see Gio playing. I want to see him playing somewhere where he can have the impact that we know he can have. The fact that it wasn't at the Club World Cup for Dortmund and it could have been at the Gold Cup for America, that's up to Dortmund and U.S. Soccer why that wasn't the case.
I know we've talked about Malik Tillman a lot, similar position. Do you think 12 months from now we're looking back at the fact that Tillman had a great Gold Cup while Gio Reyna was sitting at the bench at the FIFA Club World Cup as the moment that Reyna lost the position and Tillman took it over?
I think we saw last Nations League when Giovanni Reina wasn't even used, when Mauricio Pochettino desperately needed a goal and he looked back and he said, no, I'm good. Not yet. No, not on Gio Reyna. I can't think of a player that's underwhelmed more post-Qatar World Cup than Giovanni Reina.
It sounds like you're ready to move on from Gio Reyna.
I am not. I think Giovanni Reina needs to have a serious look in the mirror and say, what am I not doing? Why do all these coaches keep passing on me? Because you find no bigger defender in Giovanni Reina than myself, and I've maintained the highest ceiling. But at some point, if you can't prove to the coach you have in front of you on a daily basis that you deserve some sort of opportunity in multiple places with multiple coaches, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you. And if I'm Giovanni Reina at 22 years of age, it's got to be some sort of reflection and saying, what am I not doing right? What is Giovanni Reina not doing to garner that opportunity? Because the talent is there. He's too big of a talent to just waste away. And unfortunately, Malik Tillman, with a very good Gold Cup performance, is now being etched into what should be Giovanni Reina territory, his position. And if I'm Giovanni Reina, who's on the side of a milk carton right now, that should desperately hurt me. That should desperately kill me.
You know Dortmund. I mean, is there any future for him there?
I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is that there's been coaching changes.
Yeah.
Right? And you're thinking about Nuri Sahin took over at the beginning of last season. That didn't quite work out. And so it felt like, well, Niko Kovac coming in, he owes none of these players anything, and you had to prove to Niko Kovac that you were going to be able to be part of this picture going forward. And when it came time to actually showing Niko Kovac something, Gio Reyna was either injured or playing a few minutes sparingly. So when this team was trending in the right direction towards the end of the season, Gio Reyna again was seeing very limited minutes. There's an element of trust that he hasn't been able to develop with the managers at Borussia Dortmund. And it starts with the level of fitness. It starts with the injuries. And some would say, well, that's unfortunate. But while you are kind of feeling sorry for yourself and trying to recover from injuries, there are guys that are running by you, and they get to the front of the line. And he has never been able to get back to the front of the line in terms of choices at Borussia Dortmund. And here's where I think it's critically important, a name that perhaps we don't often talk about when it comes to Gio Reyna, Claudio Reyna. This man knows what this is all about. He must know. He must know. And I know you have a good relationship with him, Casey. He must know that this goes beyond the talent level of Gio Reyna and what we think his ceiling can be. That at some point there has to be this reflection that you're talking about, and there has to be this self-evaluation and self-recognition and admitting to yourself, you know, I've let the last 2 or 3 years just slip right by me, just go. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to make the next week of training my most important week. And the week after that, my most important week. And I'm going to put myself, it's not at the front of the line, I'm going to put me 3 or 4 players deep. And then the next week, I'm going to find myself 2 or 3 players deep. And somebody will get injured, and maybe I'm 1 player away. But in order to do that, you have to be willing to grind. And what I have noticed, it's my observation, and I could be completely off base here. I could be completely wrong. When it has come to grinding, Gio Reyna hasn't seemed to have what it takes to grind away his way back into the front of the line to be available to be chosen by Niko Kovac, Mauricio Pochettino, or whoever the case may be. I personally think that Gio Reyna could be the most important player for the United States national team. In his best version, he gives this team something different, and more importantly, takes attention away from Christian Pulisic. It gives a dual threat to this group in terms of creativity, which I cannot, in looking back in time, think of this team ever having. That dual threat of creativity, that guys that can play at a high level. But Gio Reyna hasn't been there for a long time. And in order for him to get to that level once again, he's going to have to grind his way back. And in order to do that, he's going to have to prove it to himself before he does it to anybody else.